Welcome to this tutorial for the 2013 versions of XProtect Enterprise, XProtect Professional, XProtect Express, XProtect Essential, and XProtect Go. Watch this tutorial to see how you can further adjust settings in your XProtect VMS system once you have run the initial Getting Started wizard that runs when you open the management application for the first time after installation. You can choose between 4 different wizards that assist you in setting up: hardware, video storage, motion detection, and user access. The Add Hardware wizard helps you add cameras and devices from the network. You have 2 options: scan for hardware, or manually specify the hardware to add if you already know the IP addresses of the hardware. In this case, we scan for hardware. Scan Local Network is selected by default. Scanning for hardware is carried out on the same network as your recording server is located on. You can also scan on other or additional IP addresses, address ranges, or port numbers. Click the plus icon to add these to the scanning. If you know the name of the hardware device manufacturers, you can choose to only search among these in order to speed up the scanning process. If you have changed the username and password on the devices from the default settings, it is important that you add the new credentials. Once the scanning is complete, you will get a list of the cameras and devices found. Click Next to add the devices to your system. The Configure Storage wizard guides you through the configuration of video and recording settings. In the Video Settings dialog, you can define advanced properties for each device individually, such as video quality, resolution, and frame rates for live and recording. Here you can specify when your cameras should send video to the system. You can also create schedules with detailed timetables. For example, if you only want your cameras to be online outside business hours. In the Live and Recording settings, you can choose specific frame rates for live and recording. You can also define basic recording settings. For example, if you want pre- or post-recording if motion is detected. If you need the same settings on several devices, you can easily create a template and distribute it to the devices you want. The next step is to configure your storage. The list shows your available drives, and you can specify where to record, as well as when and where to archive. Please note that some XProtect VMS products do not support network archiving. Finally, you can specify individual paths for recording and storage, and how long your recordings should be kept. In the Adjust Motion Detection wizard, you can configure motion detection for each camera. You can choose to exclude areas from motion detection. This is relevant if you've got areas where you don't want motion to be detected. Use the left and right mouse buttons to create the exclusion areas. In the next dialog, you can adjust the sensitivity and threshold for motion detection. The level bar indicates the actual level of motion. When the bar turns red, motion detection is triggered. Use the 2 sliders to adjust the level of motion detection. Use the sensitivity slider to adjust how much a pixel must change before it will be detected as motion. Use the motion slider to adjust the level of motion necessary to trigger motion detection. Use the Manage User Access wizard to create new users for your VMS system. In this occasion, you can add two kinds of users: basic users and Windows users. In this case, we will add a basic user. Fill in a username and a password and click the Add Basic User button. Add additional users if necessary. For each user, you can see a summary with the list of all accessible cameras for the current user. If you need a more detailed configuration of user access, you can do this in the User setting from the Advanced Settings menu. The VMS system is now configured and ready to use.